Imagine this strange and tender paradox. You are sitting safely in a room, doors locked, stomach full, surrounded by comforts your ancestors could not even dream of, and yet your heart is racing. Your chest tightens, your thoughts sprint ahead of you like frightened animals. Nothing is chasing you, and yet everything feels urgent. This is the quiet mystery of modern anxiety. Once, long ago, anxiety was not a disorder. It was wisdom. It was the flicker of awareness that kept our species alive. The rustle in the grass that might be a predator. The tightening in the gut that said, "Pay attention." Anxiety was a friend that whispered, "Survive." But here we are now, thousands of years later, still listening to that same ancient voice. Even though the jungle has become an office, the predator a deadline, and the threat an unread message glowing on a screen, our bodies do not know the difference. Evolution does not upgrade on schedule. Inside you lives a creature shaped by firelight and famine, by uncertainty and constant danger. That creature wakes every morning inside a world of endless information, artificial light, social comparison, and invisible pressures. And it is confused, it is overstimulated, it is afraid. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something is ancient within you. Modern anxiety is not a personal failure. It is a biological inheritance meeting a world it was never designed for. Think of it like this. Imagine taking a finely tuned survival instrument, one designed to detect subtle changes in wind, sound, and movement, and dropping it into a hurricane of noise. The instrument does not break. It simply never stops ringing. Your nervous system is that instrument. Anxiety is not trying to hurt you. It is trying to protect you in a language that no longer fits. And so it shouts. It warns you about emails as if they were lions. It treats social rejection like exile from the tribe. It interprets uncertainty as a threat to existence itself. Because once it was. To be uncertain was to starve. To be excluded was to die. To hesitate was to be killed. Your body remembers this, even if your mind does not. This is why anxiety feels so physical. The racing heart, the shallow breath, the clenched jaw, these are not philosophical problems. They are ancient reflexes, muscle memory from a time when survival depended on speed, vigilance, and fear. And here's the cruel irony. The safer our world becomes, the louder this ancient alarm often grows. Because the brain evolved not to seek peace, but to scan for danger. When danger is rare, it looks harder, it invents threats, it magnifies possibilities. It turns imagination into a battlefield. In abundance, the survival mind does not rest, it worries. And so modern anxiety is not about danger itself, but about potential danger. What might happen? What could go wrong? What if the mind becomes a time traveler, living everywhere except here? And this is where our story truly begins. Because to understand anxiety, we must first understand the strange mismatch between the world we evolved for and the world we now inhabit. Picture the human brain as a city built in layers. At the very bottom lies the oldest district, the survival brain. It is fast, instinctive, emotional. It does not speak in words, only sensations, heat, tightness, urgency. It asks one question endlessly: am I safe? Above it rises a newer structure, the emotional and social brain, attuned to belonging, hierarchy, love, and loss. It monitors faces, tone, acceptance, rejection. And at the top, like a glass tower, stands the rational mind, logical, verbal, reflective. The part of you that reads books about anxiety and tries to think its way out. Here's the problem. The lower floors move faster than the top. Evolution did not prioritize accuracy. It prioritized speed. If you mistook a shadow for a predator, you wasted energy. If you mistook a predator for a shadow, you died. So the brain evolved with a bias toward fear. This bias served us well on the savannah. It serves us poorly in a world of constant stimulation. Every notification is a tap on the glass, every headline a siren, every comparison a subtle threat to status. Your nervous system is flooded with signals it cannot distinguish from danger. The brain does not ask, "Is this logical?" It asks, "Is this novel? Is this uncertain? Is this socially relevant?" And modern life answers yes. Constantly. We live surrounded by strangers, abstract risks, and endless choices. Choice, which we celebrate as freedom, is experienced by the survival brain as uncertainty. And uncertainty, to an ancient nervous system, feels like danger. This is why the mind seeks control so desperately. Control once meant survival. Predictability meant safety, rituals, habits, routines. They reduced uncertainty in a chaotic world. But now, control has become an illusion we chase. We try to control outcomes, perceptions, futures. We plan obsessively. We rehearse conversations that never happen. We scroll endlessly, seeking reassurance. Information becomes a sedative and an addiction. The mind says, "If I know more, I will be safe." But knowledge without rest becomes noise, and noise keeps the alarm ringing. There's another twist in this evolutionary tale that our ancestors faced short bursts of intense stress, fight or flight, followed by long periods of rest. The nervous system would activate, then reset. Today, stress is low-grade, constant, ambient. It never fully resolves. The body prepares for a sprint that never comes. Muscles tense for action that is never taken. Hormones circulate with nowhere to go. And so anxiety becomes chronic, not because life is more dangerous, but because stress no longer completes its cycle. We are always almost running. This is why anxiety often feels like energy with no outlet. Because it is survival energy trapped in a sedentary, hypercognitive life. The tragedy is not that we feel anxious. The tragedy is that we judge ourselves for it. We call it weakness, dysfunction, disorder. But anxiety is not a malfunction. It is a misalignment, an ancient system trying to protect you in a modern world that rarely allows resolution. Understanding this does not erase anxiety, but it softens it. It replaces shame with compassion. It allows us to stop fighting the messenger and start listening to the message beneath the noise. And beneath the noise is a longing not for certainty, but for safety. At the heart of anxiety lies a single, trembling question: can I trust what happens next? To the rational mind, uncertainty is neutral. To the survival brain, it is intolerable. Because once, uncertainty meant exposure, hunger, death. So the mind tries to predict, to plan, to simulate every possible future. This is why anxiety lives in time. It rarely asks, "What is happening?" It asks, "What might happen?" The anxious mind is always ahead of the body, dragging it into imagined futures that feel just as real as the present moment. And here is where control becomes seductive. We believe that if we manage our image, our productivity, our relationships, our choices, then we can finally rest. But control is a bargain that never completes, because life, by its nature, is uncontrollable. Evolution taught us to manage risk, not to eliminate it. Yet modern culture whispers a dangerous promise that with enough effort, optimization, and vigilance, we can guarantee safety. When this promise fails, as it always does, anxiety deepens. Not only is the world uncertain, but now we believe we are failing at controlling it. This is why anxiety so often comes with self-blame. Why can't I relax? Why can't I stop thinking? What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You are experiencing the tension between a mind built to anticipate danger and a world that offers infinite uncertainty. There's another layer to this struggle. Anxiety is not only about physical survival, it is about social survival. To be rejected, ignored, or excluded once meant death. Humans survived in tribes. Belonging was not emotional comfort, it was biological necessity. So the brain evolved to monitor status relentlessly. Am I accepted? Am I admired? Am I falling behind? In a small tribe, these questions had clear answers. In a global, digital village of millions, they become endless. Social media did not invent comparison, it industrialized it. The survival brain now compares you to thousands of others, constantly. Each image, each metric, each performance is unconsciously translated into survival language. Am I safe here? And so anxiety wraps itself around love, work, identity, and self-worth. It whispers, do more, be more, don't fall behind. The irony is painful. The same mind that once protected our ancestors now exhausts their descendants. Yet here's the quiet revelation. Anxiety is not asking you to eliminate fear. It is asking you to change your relationship with it. To recognize that the alarm is ancient, but you are not trapped inside it. There is something within you that evolution did not fully predict: awareness. You can notice the tightening without becoming it. You can feel the fear without obeying it. You can listen without surrendering. This does not mean suppressing anxiety. It means holding it gently, like a frightened animal that does not need to be killed, only understood. And this understanding opens a doorway, not to control, but to trust. Trust not that nothing bad will happen, but that you can meet what happens without abandoning yourself. This is where the journey turns, not away from anxiety, but through it. There's a quiet truth we rarely name. Much of modern anxiety is not fear of pain, but fear of disconnection. When you strip anxiety down to its bones, beneath the racing thoughts and restless nights, you often find a simpler ache. Will I be alone in this? Evolution shaped us not just as survivors, but as relational beings. We were born into arms, not independence. Safety was a shared experience. Fire was warmer when others sat beside it. To be seen was to be safe. So the nervous system learned to track faces, moods, signals of approval or rejection with exquisite sensitivity. It learned to feel danger not only in claws and storms, but in silence, disapproval, and distance. This ancient sensitivity still lives in you. It is why a harsh word can linger longer than praise. Why being misunderstood hurts more than being wrong. Why loneliness can feel physically painful. Modern life, however, fractures connection. We live among crowds yet feel unseen. We communicate constantly yet rarely feel truly heard. We curate identities while longing to be known. The survival brain interprets this ambiguity as threat. Not dramatic, not cinematic, but chronic. And so anxiety becomes a background hum, the fear of falling out of resonance with others, of losing belonging without knowing why. We are told to be independent, self-sufficient, resilient, and yet our biology whispers another truth. You were never meant to do this alone. This tension creates a quiet grief. We chase productivity to prove our worth. We chase approval to confirm our place. We chase perfection to avoid rejection. But perfection is not connection. Performance is not intimacy. Anxiety thrives where authenticity feels dangerous. And here's the paradox. The more we try to control how we are perceived, the more disconnected we feel. Because connection does not come from managing impressions, it comes from being revealed. Yet revealing ourselves feels risky. Because once vulnerability meant exposure, weakness invited harm. So we armor up, we stay busy, we stay impressive, and the anxious mind applauds this, while the nervous system grows more exhausted. This is why love is both a cure and a trigger for anxiety. To love is to depend. To depend is to risk. To risk is to awaken the ancient fear of loss. The anxious heart says, if I care less, I'll hurt less. But the body knows this is not true. Love does not create anxiety, it reveals it. Because love matters, and what matters activates the survival brain. Understanding this shifts something profound. Your anxiety around relationships, belonging, and self-worth is not evidence that you are broken. It is evidence that you are deeply human. The task is not to numb this sensitivity, but to create conditions where it can rest. Safety is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of attunement. And attunement begins not with others but with yourself. When you stop abandoning your own experience, when you listen without judgment, something ancient softens. The nervous system senses companionship again. Not perfection, not certainty, but presence. And presence, to an evolutionary mind, feels like home. There's one final arena where modern anxiety tightens its grip. Time that our ancestors lived inside. Cycles: day and night, hunger and fullness, seasons and rest. Time moved, but it did not rush. Death was present, but not abstract. It arrived as a companion, not a countdown. Modern time is different. It is linear, accelerated, measured, monetized. We no longer live in time, we chase it. The anxious mind is obsessed with the future because the future feels like a test, a verdict, a place where everything will finally be decided. Will I be enough? Will it work out? Will I fall behind? Evolution gave us the capacity to imagine tomorrow so we could prepare. It did not give us the capacity to live there permanently. Yet this is where many of us reside. Half in now, half in not yet. And the nervous system, unable to complete the story, remains activated. There's also the quiet terror we rarely admit, awareness of mortality. To know you will die is not an evolutionary advantage, it is a philosophical one. The survival brain does not know what to do with this knowledge. It only knows how to avoid threats, not how to face inevitability. So it distracts. It worries about small things to avoid the unanswerable ones. It fills silence with noise. It keeps moving. Anxiety often spikes when stillness approaches, because in stillness, time catches up, and with it, the awareness that life is fragile, brief, and uncontrollable. But here is the hidden gift: anxiety. At its deepest layer is a distorted relationship with time, a refusal to rest in the present because the present feels too small, too fleeting, too uncertain. Yet the present is the only place where safety can actually be felt, not imagined, not predicted. Felt. The body does not calm down in the future. It calms down now. This is why practices that bring attention back to sensation, breath, movement, touch work so powerfully. They speak the language of the survival brain. They say, look, we are here, and we are alive. No philosophy can replace this experience. It must be embodied. And when it is, something remarkable happens. Time loosens its grip, urgency softens. The alarm lowers its volume, not because life becomes certain, but because you are no longer trying to escape it. So where does this leave us? Not with a cure, not with a technique, but with a remembering. You are not a machine malfunctioning. You are an animal awakening inside a world it never evolved for. And within that animal lives something even older than fear: awareness. The part of you that can witness anxiety without becoming it. The part that can feel the tremble and remain kind. The part that understands that survival is not the same as living. Evolution gave you fear so you could exist. Life invites you to go further, to stop waging war on your nervous system, to stop shaming your ancient reflexes, to offer them rest. Anxiety does not disappear when you defeat it. It transforms when you listen, when you slow down enough to complete the stress cycle, when you reconnect enough to feel belonging, when you inhabit the present enough to feel safe. This is not a return to the past. It is an integration. You honor the animal without letting it run the world. And slowly, gently, something changes. The alarm still exists, but it no longer defines you. Fear still arises, but it no longer rules you. Uncertainty remains, but it no longer paralyzes. You begin to trust not that life will protect you, but that you can meet life with openness, rather than armor. This is the quiet freedom beyond anxiety. Not numbness, not control, but companionship with yourself, a sense that whatever rises, you will not abandon your own experience. And in that companionship, the ancient nervous system finally hears what it has been waiting for all along. You are not alone. You are safe enough to live.